Simple past tense. Every action that takes place has a temporal setting for it. That is, every action must have taken place at one point in time, and that brings us to the concept of tense. Tense is simply the time an action occurred either in the present or in the past. Simple past tense, then, refers to an action that took place at some point in time in the past. An action that began and got completed in the past. For example, he sold the car. Since sold is a past tense inflection of sell, we can infer that the car was purchased some time ago, which is not now. However, it may be difficult to pinpoint the exact time an action took place in the past using only past tense verbs. From the example above, he sold the car, we cannot deduce at what point in the past the car was sold. Was it yesterday, last week, last month, last year? It is very difficult, if not impossible, to determine the exact time in the past an action took place by relying solely on past tense verbs, hence the need for adverbs. Not just any adverb, but adverbs that indicate time like now, then, yesterday, today, on the New Year's Eve, etc. For example, he sold the car last week. With the addition of an adverb of time to the sentence, we can now pinpoint at what time in the past the car was sold, last week. The verb form used in simple past tense is either a main verb, or an auxiliary verb and a main verb. Here is an example of simple past tense with an auxiliary verb and a main verb. Marcus was driven out of the courtyard yesterday. Was is an auxiliary verb, and driven is a main verb in its past tense form. Hence, the formula for simple past tense verbs is O plus ed, meaning auxiliary verb plus past tense main verb. Simple past tense does not only appear in declarative sentences as we have examined so far, it can also come in the form of negative sentences and interrogative sentences. Examples of simple past tense in negative sentences: mathematics was not taught at the school, Sheila had not seen the new rules, the board was not informed on the order of the meeting. From the examples above, you would observe that the negation, not, is inserted between the auxiliary verb and the main verb in the sentences to show that it is a negative construction. There are instances of negative sentence construction where the auxiliary verb is inflected for past tense and the main verb reverts to its base form or simple present tense. For example, Mark did not know the lyrics. Those guys did not know him. The teacher did not mark the assignments. These examples above are instances of sentences with the dummy-do primary auxiliary verb, which absorbs the inflectional properties of the main verb in the sentence, leaving it in its base form. Examples of simple past tense in interrogative sentences: what did you eat today? How did you eat? Why were you there? When was the engagement? You would notice that the sentences above are started with WH words. Such interrogative sentences are known as non-polar questions or interrogatives, because they do not require a yes or no response. Just as there are simple past tense sentences for non-polar interrogatives, the same applies to polar interrogatives. Did you see the movie? Were you at the bar? Was he the accomplice? Did it rain today? You would notice that the subjects of the sentences are placed between the auxiliary verbs that begin the sentences, and main verbs in their base form. Remember, when auxiliary verbs are inflected for past tense, the main verbs in the same sentence as them would be reverted to their respective base form. So simple past tense refers to actions that started at some point in time in the past and got completed in the past. They depend on adverbs of time in order to accurately and more specifically indicate the exact time in the past an action took place, and they can exist as declarative sentences, negative sentences and interrogative sentences. See you soon.